G'day and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I want to show you how to instantly improve your balance with one simple exercise. And the inspiration for this video comes from this particular study. And what this study found was that of the 1,700 participants aged between the ages of 50 to 75, those that couldn't balance on one leg for longer than 10 seconds had almost twice the risk of dying from all causes within 10 years. And while this isn't straightforward enough to suggest that if your balance isn't good enough, that you're going to die sooner, it does highlight the importance of good balance. And what I want to do with this video is I want to show you one exercise that I've come to understand clinically that isn't a balance exercise that can have an immediate impact on how good your balance feels. So let's hop into it. So truth be told, I would normally transition and cut away to another scene where mid-hop I land somewhere else. But I thought it would be more impactful if I could do the majority of this video standing on one leg consistently without cutting away. And it's proven to be a challenge. I don't know how many takes this successful one is. If you're watching, it may actually be. My calves are burning, my ankles are burning at the moment. But what I wanted to do here is, in order to understand why this exercise that we're going to get to is just so effective, it's good to understand the three main components of balance and how this exercise can severely impact one of them. Now, if you didn't know, balance is generally made up of three main subsystems. The first is our visual field, where obviously you need to be able to see what you're doing, to orientate yourself and calibrate yourself to improve your balance and keep you upright. The second is your vestibular system or your inner ear, which again allows us to calibrate where we are in space, orientated against gravity. But the third piece of the puzzle, which is what this exercise addresses, is your proprioceptive system. And for those that are unaware, your proprioception is essentially your joint position sense, where I know that my thumb is up without having to look at it. I know my thumb is down without having to look at it because of the joint position sensors that give me that feedback. And your proprioception is a crucial part of your balance because it helps us get that feedback from the joints, feed it back into our brain so we can make those micro adjustments to keep us upright. But one of the really important things to understand about that is, for example, with your ankle, is that if your ankle joint is stiff, then your proprioceptive system becomes inhibited. So the exercise that we're going to get to is your banded ankle stretch. And what this does is this goes after any stiffnesses and restrictions in the deeper joint capsule. And what I found clinically is by freeing up the ankle joint capsule, we should be able to see an immediate improvement in your ability to balance because we've improved how one of those subsystems function. So let's get into it. Again, another transition, want to keep things consistent. Before we get to the banded ankle stretch, where I will eventually have to put my foot down, the first thing that we need to do is a pre-test. We need to get a good sense of how good your balance feels to begin with, so that when we do this banded ankle stretch, you can genuinely understand whether it had any effect at all. Because as I always say on the channel, as I say this to my patients in person and online all the time, you shouldn't have to trust me. All that we should be trusting is the results of what's going on. Because if you do this exercise and you feel better, then you know you had an impact. If you do the exercise and it's no different, but you do feel like your ankle freed up, then that probably isn't the piece of your balance puzzle that you need to work on. And we can only really understand what's meaningful to you specifically, basically by the results that we get from the things that we do. So it goes without saying that probably the best way to test your balance is to do a single leg balance test. Now, if you are someone who is a little bit apprehensive and a little bit fearful of falling, especially when balancing, it's really important to do this in the corner of something with a chair in front of you. And when you lift your hands up, you can just subtly touch it again, just to get a sense of how stable you might feel. But ultimately what we want to get from this is we want to get a very strong sense of how long you feel you can balance for before you put your foot on the ground. We want to do that a couple of times and just take an average of how long you felt that was, but also how you felt it was to do. Did you feel super wobbly? Did you feel really tight somewhere? Did you feel really comfortable? How much of a fear of falling did you have in that moment if you are prone to those experiences? Take note of how that feels. Then once we do this exercise, we want to come back to that again and then get a general sense and a genuine sense of how much different it feels, if at all. So However long this has been, I'm sure it's been a couple of minutes. This is probably the 5th or 6th take that I've done. As I said before, my ankle and my calf is burning at the moment, which is completely fine. I don't feel unsteady, but I'm gonna put my foot down and then we're gonna move to this banded ankle stretch. So as I've mentioned on the channel already, one of the best ways that I've ever seen to mobilize stiff ankle joint capsules is with a power band or a band. The idea here is that we can hook the band around your ankle to bias that capsule and not just look at stretching the soft tissue around the ankle. And one of the issues that we tend to see with a lot of traditional stretches, whether it be a gastroc or a soleus stretch, is they're just muscular stretches. If your ankle joint is stiff and rusty underneath that, not only will your proprioception be short-circuited because of that, but you'll also never really reach the ceiling of how well you can stretch those calf muscles if your ankle joint isn't letting you go as far as it could at the same time. So all you need for this is a power band. You want to strap it to something, the sole that's not going to move. Then we want to get you to place that band underneath the balls of your ankle joint. And we want to stretch that out as far as you feel comfortable. Now, you can definitely put this up onto a step or something just to change the angle or the line of pull from the exercise. But if you want to keep it really simple, all we want to do here is stretch it out as far as you feel comfortable and look to bend your back ankle in and out of that end range. And one of the things that's important to realize is what we tend to find when doing this is if you're running into some ankle joint restriction, it's very easy for your knee to, instead of going straight forwards through that restriction, to meet that restriction and then have to go around that restriction to go further. So it's really important here that we're not letting you dump your knee inwards, that we're trying to keep your knee rotated out and have your knee go out through the middle of your foot, if not towards the outside of that foot, to bias any of that deeper ankle joint capsular restriction. Obviously the band's pulling behind you, but you can hold this position and let the band do its job, but it does help to incorporate movement into this. We're going to get you to do this for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, for as long as you feel comfortable, but you should feel instantly lighter and looser through your ankle joints straight away. Now, obviously from a balance perspective, once you know exactly how your balance feels initially, you've done the banded ankle stretch, then we essentially just want to jump straight back into your balance position again to gauge how that feels for you. What I would expect based on my clinical experience with my patients is you should feel like maybe you can balance for longer, but you should also feel like you're not as wobbly while you are balancing. So as always, I genuinely hope that this video was helpful and insightful in some way. If it was, please leave a like in the video, subscribe to the channel if this resonates with you. If you could leave a comment down below of how this went for you, just to help other people realize that this is potentially something that will benefit them if they do it. But having said that, thank you for watching and I hope to see you next time.